GOP Senator Chuck Grassley faced questions from constituents at a town hall in Fort Madison, Iowa, over the Trump administration mistakenly deporting a Maryland man to a notorious Salvadorian mega prison.
Are you going to bring that guy back from El Salvador? Yeah. Why not?
Well, because that's not a power of Congress.
The Supreme Court said to bring him back.
Judges are, and the president is upholding the Constitution.
He's defined the Constitution.
You're on the Judiciary Committee.
Trump don't care.
Guatemala or El Salvador is an independent country. The president.
Speak up, please. We can't hear you.
The president of that country is not subject to our U.S. Supreme Court.
We would like to know what you, as the people, the Congress, who are supposed to rein in this dictator, what are you going to do about it? These people have been sentenced to life imprisonment in a foreign country with no due process. Our government cannot do anything.
Trump isn't a king.
Why won't you do your job, Senator?
Yeah.
Tempers flared at Republican town halls across the country on Tuesday, a sign of growing anger, at least among some Americans, with President Trump's policies.
But even in the face of testy constituents, those lawmakers continue to show loyalty to the president. In suburban Atlanta, disruptions by protesters at an event for Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene led police to arrest 3 people. Now, instead of answering questions face-to-face, Greene required that they be submitted in writing ahead of time and mocked some of the critical ones she read out loud. Senator Chuck Grassley faced his own crowd of frustrated...
I gotta review that video. I want to see that. I want to see that. A lot of people are very upset. They want to get their words out. And some are valid. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Some arguments are valid. Like this guy that got deported. They're saying that he's not actually a gang member. He's just a normal person. But, you know, he's not doing any harm to anybody. He hasn't been charged or anything. That's what they're saying, at least. And they're fighting. They're fighting to get this guy back. I don't remember his name at the moment because I really haven't talked about it a lot. I haven't really researched it a lot to know the facts on this situation. But the fact of the matter is a lot of people are upset. And, you know, I like to get both perspectives. I like to get the perspective of how the Republicans feel about it, and I like to get the perspective of how Democrats feel about it. Now, in no shape or form am I going to be like, I understand why Trump is doing what he is doing. I don't understand everything that he does. Do I agree with a lot of the things he does? The majority of the stuff I do agree with. But do I agree with everything Trump does? Absolutely not. Did I like some of the stuff that Biden did? Of course I did. Do I agree with everything that Biden did? Absolutely not. So it's never going to be perfect regardless of what side you're on. Unless you're just a diehard mega right winger or mega left winger where it doesn't matter what they do as long as they're doing it. That's all that matters. All right. I'm not that type of guy. I want to be able to disagree with the president regardless of what side they are on, if that's my personal opinion. But am I going to be out here protesting? Am I going to be out here risking my freedom for somebody else's freedom? Absolutely not. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not going to be that guy. This is not a big enough issue in my eyes. Now, it may be in your eyes, but in my eyes, it's not a big enough issue for me to be like, all right, I think that this is time that I have to go out in the streets and protest and try to fight back against this deportation and ICE. This stuff has been around. It's always been around, and it's nothing new. It's just being revamped again because honestly, what happened over the past 4 years, a lot of people are still like, yo, there was too many people that came into this country. So obviously the opportunities for Americans are not as much as they were. And, people are looking for jobs. At the same time, inflation is running up, so they can't afford anything. So a lot of people are pissed. A lot of people are upset, and they just want some type of solution, and they feel like this is the solution. Well, eventually, we will see.
Voters in Iowa and was repeatedly urged to stand up to President Trump.
Are you going to bring that guy back from El Salvador? Are you? Why not?
Well, because that's not a power of Congress.
Supreme Court said to bring him back.
We would like to know what you, as the people, the Congress, who are supposed to rein in this dictator, what are you going to do about it? These people have been sentenced to life imprisonment in a foreign country with no due process. Our government cannot do anything.
We're joined now by CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist Paul Begala, as well as former governor of Arkansas, Republican Asa Hutchinson. It's been a while since we've had the two of you back on, so thank you for joining us. It's going to be an interesting conversation. As always, Governor Hutchinson, let me start with you, because what we saw there with Senator Grassley was not on the Upper West Side of Manhattan or in Washington, D.C., in the suburbs, anywhere close to there. This was in Iowa. And yet you're hearing some constituents, not necessarily supporting these migrants themselves, but supporting the rule of law, and quoting that one voter saying, why aren't you standing up in the face of how he described the president to be a dictator? How do you react to that?
Well, my reaction to it is that the opposition, those that on the left, are going to be the most vocal at those town hall meetings. And I think that's what you saw there with Senator Grassley. I've been in Iowa. It is a very divided state in many ways. You're going to hear from both sides. But the overarching message that I think the senators are getting is you need to exercise the power of the legislative branch and just not roll over for the president. So that message is being conveyed, not just by those on the left, by those on the right as well. And I think that's the expectation, that there will be some growing independence from those on the Republican side in Congress, as you see Trump become more visceral in his attacks and disregard for the law.
Paul, let me bring you in, because we heard one, as Bianna was just touching on, one voter essentially describe President Trump as a dictator. And Asa was just saying that a lot of people are saying, listen, we can't all just roll over for the president. There has to be people in Congress who stand up to him. What do Republicans in Congress risk, Paul, by standing up to Donald Trump?
Well, they risk the wrath of Mr. Trump, who within the Republican base is, of course, very powerful. He also now, President Trump, is allied with the richest man in the whole wide world. But they risk more by not standing up. Look at what happened in Wisconsin. They had a Supreme Court race, a state that Mr. Trump won very narrowly by about a point. The liberal there won by over 10 points, even though Elon Musk spent millions of dollars of his own money in support of the conservative. The Musk money, the Trump endorsement actually hurt the conservative, didn't help. And I was watching that clip you had, that town hall. Asa ran for president, spent a lot of time in Iowa. To say our country and his party would have been a lot better off if he'd have won. But Lee County, where that town hall was, it's in the southeast tip of Iowa for our international viewers. It's right on the Mississippi River. It's beautiful country, just beautiful. My old boss and Asa's fellow Arkansan, Bill Clinton, won that county by 30 points. Guess what? Donald Trump just won it by 30 points. It is exactly one of those fulcrum places where American politics has been turning. And so if a legend like Chuck Grassley, who has been in the Senate for 44 years, if he's catching hell in Lee County, Iowa, that is a terrible sign for those Republicans.
Can I stick with you, Paul? Because as we noted,
I agree with them. Iowa is definitely a red state. They voted Republican this year. There's a lot of Republican representatives over there as well. But I think that the people, obviously, in every state, there's going to be those liberal people. There's going to be a split. Not everybody is going to agree with everything on one side, and not everybody's going to agree with everything on everything on the other side. But the middle ground is what we're trying to come together on both sides and have. And that is what we are lacking. I feel like people should be out there talking to people that disagree with them, so they can get to a middle ground. There's actually no bad there's no bad animosity that should be coming out of this type of discussion and backlash from people, because honestly, you should want to be in the position of hearing the people. That's what your job is. Your job is to hear the people, take care of the government, make sure everything is running efficiently, make sure nothing is corrupt. You're here to be pretty much the people's voice at the same time as the people's law. You're supposed to protect us. And if we can't speak to you, no longer are you protecting us. If we can't get through to you, even if you're not for us completely, if we can't get our message through to you in any way, then you are no longer speaking for us. And that's what happened this year. A lot of Republicans, a lot of Democrats did not speak for a lot of people. They spoke for some people, about 40% of people, I'd say maybe 35% of people, but they did not speak for the 51% that they need to win. Now, in certain states, obviously they're more liberal. It's going to be easy for a governor or a mayor to get a seat, like in Wisconsin, even though they tried to pay their way into that one. Obviously, you're not going to be able to pay your way into an election unless you're really good. You have to actually have a good message. You have to have a decent objective. You have to have a game plan for the people that's going to work for both sides, the majority of people. And that's how you win. That's how you win. And I think that Trump is right now, he's in a roller coaster ride right now. It's his first 3 months. It's only been like 3 months, and it's been going up and down, up and down, up and down. A lot has been done. A lot hasn't been done still, but every day there's something to talk about with him. And obviously it's going to be some negative news out there. There's going to be some backlash on some of the things he does. And like I said, I can't speak on everything he does. I can't agree with everything he does. But am I going to sit here and say he's doing a terrible job? Absolutely not.
The issue at hand in that town hall was the treatment of Abreu Garcia and the fact that this is an administration that is defiant, despite however vaguely they are wanting to interpret what the Supreme Court said. They are defiant not to bring him back to the United States. But this is clearly a battle that President Trump prefers to have and would like to have. And I'm wondering if you think, as we saw Senator Van Hollen actually travel to El Salvador. I don't know what he'll be able to accomplish there, but he's a constituent of his, so that is why he is going. Do you think that they're falling into a trap by going into this battle with the president? I'll quote you a line from Politico this morning, which said, "The White House believes it has public opinion on its side, and that every time the Democrats or the judiciary or the media complain about the treatment of the deportees, they're walking deeper into a carefully set trap." What do you make of that argument?
I'm sorry to laugh. They don't do anything carefully in the Trump White House. Okay. I mean, he won fair and square. I'm not an election denier. I'm a Democrat. But come on, they're not being careful about this. They took a man who was legally in America, who had no charges against him, and didn't only deport him, which would be problematic. They put him in one of these supermax prisons run by some eccentric leader in El Salvador. Come on. So no, I'm not worried about that. And actually at that town hall, to come back to that, they not only
look at this guy. That's not a gang member. That's not a gang member. That's not a gang member. That's not a gang member at all. He look a little sweet. I'm not gonna lie. That's not a gang member though. So I understand why people are upset, because gang members would never take pictures like this. They would never pose like this. They would not do it. That's not a gang member. That's a normal guy. And if you fumbled the bag, you got to be accountable for it. If you dropped the ball on this one, if the administration dropped the ball on this one, they should make up for it. That's just my opinion.
We're criticizing their beloved Senator Grassley about the status of this one guy who's been deported and incarcerated. They were hammering him about tariffs, which are killing our farmers, or can, about veterans, about Social Security, about Medicare and Medicaid. In other words, it's a whole cluster of things. But I think the Trump people are selling Americans short if they believe that we don't care about the rule of law, that we were founded on the notion that we don't want a king and a tyrant. And Mr. Trump, in the eyes of many, and not just Democrats, a lot of independents, has gone way too far.
Asa, since Paul brought up tariffs, I want to pose that question to you, a question about tariffs. The thing about tariffs is that not only is there so much confusion, but it changes by the day. From one day to the next, you have no idea which tariffs are going to be on hold and which tariffs are going to be implemented. In fact, there was a Bloomberg reporter who essentially said that he typed into ChatGPT, explained Donald Trump's tariff strategy to me, and what ChatGPT gave him was essentially nonsense. It just sounded like nonsense in terms of what it looked like when he read it out. So just walk us through how all of this is actually going to affect Republicans when it comes to the midterms. You're thinking about the possibility of a recession, of layoffs, of consumer spending slowing later on this year. How is all of that going to impact the midterms, do you think?
Trump has the advantage in simple language that, by and large, many Americans support. For example, being tough on illegal immigrants into our country, or reporting those that have gang affiliation or pose a risk. That's broadly supported. And you get into the nuances about, well, did he have due process? Was he really a gang member? That has to be resolved in the courts, and it should be, versus simply being a political issue, because that's not a winning issue for Democrats. In terms of tariffs, it's the same boat. We ought to have tougher tariffs on China that are targeted. But the broad-based tariffs and going after our allies is confusing. It is disruptive, and not just to our foreign friends, but it's also disruptive to our farmers. And ChatGPT obviously doesn't know what to make sense of it. And so the simple language is in Trump's favor. In the end, he wants to be able to control the dialogue. I think over time, as people understand it more and get hit by it harder, then you're going to see that support wane.
Tell me your thoughts about that down in the comments below, man. I'd really like to know your thoughts. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate y'all viewership. Make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on y'all way out. Until next time, it's your boy Dgotsauce. Peace. Shout outs to today's sponsor, the Snacks.shop. They have a variety of snacks, and I'm telling you right now, guys, they smack. All right, this is my third bag. All right, third bag. Thank you for everything you guys sent to me from the Snacks.shop. I appreciate y'all care package. Today's sponsor, make sure you guys go check them out. They have some dope snacks, and I can't lie, man, it's busting. I'm going to get some more of these, I promise you. These are the Korean chicken, like literally. Check out their website. Go cop something, man. Let them know that Dgotsauce sent you. And thank you again to today's sponsor, the Snacks.shop.